Every year, hundreds of founders are starting e-commerce companies in Southeast Asia. Yet only a handful will be successful and get to regional scale. I'm Alice Basomi, VP of Investment at Jungle Ventures, and we are in conversation with David Jou, co-founder of Pomelo, the largest fashion platform of Southeast Asia, to share with you about some of the mistakes he made and his learning in his journey, as they may be useful to you as you start thinking about building your next e-commerce venture. Hey David, thanks for joining us. Let's start with a quick introduction. Who are you, David Jou?
Hi Alice, happy to be here. I'm David, CEO and co-founder of Pomelo. We were started just over 7 years ago here in Bangkok, Thailand. And we're a omni-channel fashion platform for Southeast Asia.
So David, let's begin with people. We always say that companies would be nothing without their people, and culture is how you build a big business. But it's hard, and more often than not, CEOs feel very lonely. So tell us about making wrong hires, fighting for the best talent, building your organizations, any learnings there.
It starts with the core values that you have as an organization and as a team. And I think that really dictates everything from who you hire, who you promote, who gets more responsibility within the company, right? You have to kind of go back to those values. The second thing I would mention is not falling in love with a CV. I think that happens sometimes as founders. You see some really great names on the resume, companies that you look up to, and that then colors your hiring decision, right? And oftentimes I think the most important thing is, are they passionate? Do they have the right skill set, right? Do they want to be there every day? Not so much what school did they go to, where did they last work at? So that's been a key learning for me over time.
And, so now you have your people, the second brick is really about the product. So what are the key challenges of building a direct-to-consumer brand, building trust and customer loyalty in this digital social media era?
The important thing about building a brand online is that quality is really, really important. And it's actually more important than speed. And your brand matters a lot. And I think this is a bit unique to the direct-to-consumer branded space. Oftentimes in marketplaces or in SaaS businesses or whatever it may be, I think there's a higher tolerance for things breaking, right? And you just fix them right back up and you move forward. But with brands, I think customers start associating your brand with certain experiences that they have. And that's why it's really important to manage that. I think when we first went through our first round of verticalization, where we took our products in-house and started designing and manufacturing them in-house, we ran into some quality problems, right? But in the desire to press on, I think we may have set the bar a little bit too low versus what we ultimately wanted our standard to be. And of course, as soon as we realized it was an issue, we tried to fix it, make it better. But I still remember the complaints we were getting both from our loyal customers and my friends and the employees at the time. And that really hit home. You cannot sacrifice quality for speed when you're in the brand business. So that was a really important learning for me. Separately, I think when it comes to scalability and speed, it's all about keeping things simple, right? If you think about the biggest businesses in the world and how they've scaled, they've managed to find a big addressable market and a solution that's elegant, simple, easy to scale. And when you've got that combination, you can build really, really big businesses. Right? I think when there's a lot of complexity in the solution that you're offering, when your market maybe isn't big enough, then that's really when you start running into issues around growth or speed or scale. So that would be my tip on the topic. Keep it simple.
And while you keep it simple, you're also building a regional play, right? So it sounds like a very catchy statement. I'm going about becoming the regional leader. But the reality of entering new markets can be very daunting and pretty difficult. I know, for instance, you entered Indonesia, you pulled back, you entered again. So any learnings there, especially in the context of Southeast Asia?
I think it's all about finding great people in the market that you're trying to enter and giving them more ownership. That's really the key. I don't think that there's any way to remote control local operations. I think you can put in the right HR structure, right? Provide the right tools, the frameworks, the technology, the product, but ultimately running the business needs to be owned by the team locally. And I think when we got our GM Frankie in, the business really started to move more. And you could see that there was a push from the team in Indonesia to really make things happen, right? And now we've got stores open in Indonesia, a warehouse again, and a pretty big team. So things are moving in the right direction there.
And I guess we wouldn't be talking today if Jungle had not invested in Pomelo, right? And over the years, you have raised more than $83 million. Some rounds were oversubscribed, some took longer to close. Looking back at the journey, what are the fundraising pitfalls one should be aware of? How would you manage the process and the expectations?
Regardless of how strong or how well your business is doing, I think the key is always to give yourself more time to fundraise, right? Andre Hoffman, who's the vice chairman of L'Occitane Group and who sits on our board, he always likes to remind me, he's like, David, the number one thing that you need to do as a CEO is make sure there's enough money in the bank and to get everybody paid at the end of the month. And I think that's so true. I think, as a founder, oftentimes you're thinking growth, right? And you want to try to kind of work through your funding as quickly as possible to achieve as much growth as possible, right? But at the same time, you need to be aware that you're going to need to find people to back you. You need for them to understand your story, understand your business model, right? They need to buy into your vision, into your company's vision of the future. And that takes time. You got to get to know the people. You have to sit down with them. You have to talk to them. Then you have to negotiate. You have to find agreement. They have to do due diligence. So never underestimate how long the process will take. I think even in our in our easiest round, it still took almost a little over 6 months, right? And for most people who are fundraising, you're thinking about getting 18 months of runway, right? So if you want to have at least 6 months of runway, by the time your money comes into your bank account, right, you need to be fundraising 6 months after you close your last round. So that really has to be the mentality. And of course, it's so important to have capital so that you can invest in growing your business. So I would say spend more time on it and give yourself enough time for it.
So I hear you talk about, building a resilient business and taking the time to, do the things right as you're raising more and more money and getting enough time to do it. Maybe just any last word on how all these mistakes/learnings have shaped you and prepared you, for the next 5 years and to be a better CEO for the next chapter of Pomelo.
Definitely every stage of the business has been, for me, a different set of learnings, a different set of experiences, whether you're managing a team of 3 to 5 people, then 30 to 50, then maybe 100, 500, right? They're very different experiences. But in the end, I think, as a co-founder and as being one of the leaders of the team, the key is to always know what the vision is for the company, right? And to make sure that everybody's working well together as a team and making sure that people have the ownership to help you grow the business and be successful. And every single phase, I think, is just a different iteration of how you make that happen. So in each phase, it's like during COVID, how do you make sure that the vision is clear, that your team is working well together, and that you're positioning the team for success? That's with 500 people. How do you do it when you have 3 people? How do you make sure the vision is clear, that we're working well together as a team and that people feel ownership? And really all the lessons are centered around trying to figure out how to make that happen as the business grows and matures.
Thanks a lot, David. I hope founders can relate to that and will avoid some of these pitfalls as they go about building a resilient business. Please tell us what you liked about this video. Comment with your questions, your thoughts right below. And make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you get access to such content in the future. Thanks a lot.